Well, around that time, Prince had just done the Batman soundtrack. And he was messing with Kim Basinger, who was like the hottest girl at the time. And I guess because the whole Batman thing, the Jerk Out video had some interesting cameos.
Oh yeah.
Jack Nicholson was actually in the music video. Quincy Jones was in the video. You end up taking his girl.
Right. Right.
Sugar Ray Leonard
Yeah.
was in the video. It was pretty star-studded video there.
Yeah, it was. And Jerk Out was actually, even though it's not our most popular song, it was actually our highest charting song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the song you said, you ain't got to go, but you got to get the hell up out of here. Was that the first time that was said?
Well, first time on record.
Yeah. Because you keep hearing that over the years.
Yeah,
but you coined that phrase, I guess, on that record?
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, we used to do clubs, and we used to do this club called the Riverside. And there's a MC, I forget his name, and he would say that at the end of the night. He's like, after the bands were done playing, and he's wrapping it up, and he's like, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. And, it just came back. That was one of them lines that we just, we're going to use this at some point in time.
Yeah, and it worked for that record. Well, the time got back together, did the album, and then things fell apart again. The group broke up once again.
Well, the group, the group never stood a chance at that point, because everybody, it used to be where we had some kind of leadership and some direction, but once we got back together to do that record, Jesse Johnson, he already, had some solo success. Terry and Jimmy were off the charts. They were through the roof. So it went from having maybe a chief and a co-chief and then some Indians to having a room full of chiefs. And we couldn't get nothing done because everybody's opinion counted or took precedence over, so it was just hard. We couldn't get nothing done.
Based on the book, things started to go kind of downhill for you after that. Your marriage wasn't going well?
Marriage wasn't going well. I don't know, I was in a funk. I couldn't think. And I think that it was my way of saying, I'm going to take a break. Even though I didn't consider myself taking a break, I just looked up one day and I went from, my house in the hills to sleeping on my sister's living room floor, and I couldn't figure it out. And I didn't really have the ambition to figure it out at the time. Now, there have been times in my life where I early on had a serious drug problem, and that I got past, got through it, kept going. But this thing wasn't drugs, alcohol, nothing like that. I just didn't have it. And so I looked up and I was on my sister's, sleeping on the floor. And one day I'm sitting up in her little dark studio apartment, didn't get much sunlight. And a buddy of mine, Ron Sweeney, called me and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, why don't you put the band back together? And just like that, a light went off in my head, and next thing I know, I got the guys back together. We put the show together and never looked back. The phone's been ringing off the hook ever since.
Right, because I guess 9 years passed until you saw Prince again.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, and I guess you're supposed to open up for him, and it didn't work out.
Now, if you're talking about the Target Arena show,
yeah,
he had us fly to town. Good faith. I fly my band in. First of all, he's got us at this little rustic, like wood cabin hotel out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, I'm not staying here. So I went and got the nice little 5-star right across the street from the Target Center. I'm posted up, and it's about maybe an hour before the show, and we get a phone call. Prince changed his mind. He doesn't want you guys to open for him tonight. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so I said, okay, so I get that. I said, so can he give me some money just to reimburse me for my out of pocket? You know, I got my guys here. I pay them. I pay them per diem. I pay their whatever. You know, if I bring them out, I pay them. And I said, and plus my airfare. I said, can I get? And they're like, Prince said no. So I said, okay, this is some bullshit. So anyway, he ended up giving me, we went the rounds, and he ended up giving me enough money to reimburse me for the airfare. And I got the guys home, and I said, you know what, that's it. You know, I said, no more calls, because he had done this several times and changed his mind. I said, no more calls. I said, I'm not leaving the house for this dude unless he pays me 100% up front.
Yeah, Prince has this interesting sort of, generous, cheap thing that kind of has went on the whole time. Because I remember I interviewed Curtis Blow at one point, and they were doing a music video as a tribute to Martin Luther King. And back then, music videos were expensive.
Yeah.
You couldn't just pick up a video camera,
Right.
an iPhone and shoot a music video.
Exactly.
And he said that they didn't know where they were going to get the money for the music video, and they went to Prince, and they needed like $50,000. Prince just wrote him a check without any credit or anything, and he was like, "Yo, man, thank you so much." And Prince was like, "Hey, man, it's Martin Luther King. Don't even mention it."
Yeah.
And he would like literally just throw off $50,000 like that. But
Yeah.
then when it comes to reimbursing your airfare,
Right. Like 17.5 million that year. I was like thinking, now I helped make that movie. I'm like, I wonder if you're going to write me a little check, but that never happened.